Hi, welcome to Property Director. The purpose of this video is to help you get started using Property Director and show you some of the common functions. So first of all, we'll show you how to add a property. So after logging in, you'll arrive at this welcome page. To add a property, click Manage Portfolio in the top navigation. So for this property investor, he's got 22 investment properties. That's all listed on this page. To add a property, just click the Add Property button in the top right. And on the Add Property page, you just need to enter the mandatory information, which is highlighted by the red asterisk. So let's add a house for this example. I'll put in the purchased month and year. When you go down, you'll see a section here for rental income details. It gives you the option of specifying the payment frequency. For example, if you get paid rent monthly, weekly, etc. In this case, let's assume we get paid monthly, and you can specify the day of the month you get paid. So we'll just say the last day of the month. And at the bottom, you'll get the mortgage details section. So here you just enter in all of your loan information for your loan. So type in all the mandatory information. And at the bottom, it gives you the option of specifying the payment frequency and the day of the month you get paid. So let's again assume it's a monthly payment, and let's assume we have to pay it on the 10th of every month. You've also got the ability to have Property Director calculate the mortgage repayments for you automatically, or you can specify the amount. Sometimes when you make repayments, it might be rounded off to the nearest dollar or something. So in that case, you can actually specify it here. But for our example, let's just allow it to calculate it automatically. You also have the ability to assign multiple loans for your property, which is often the case when you purchase investment property. So let's add another loan. Now go down and just fill that information in again. So let's assume it's a smaller loan. Okay. And then once you're done, just click the Add Property button at the bottom. Okay, the property's been added. Once the property's added, it'll take you to the Manage Transaction screen. So this is basically a financial summary screen all on one page. It shows you a breakdown of the income, mortgage, and expenses. I'll give you an overview of what this page means. So each of these rows represents a transaction group. So for example, there's a transaction group for rent, and there's a transaction group for each of our loans. And at the bottom, there's transaction groups for each of the expenses. Once you add the property, Property Director automatically populates your rental payments for the current financial year, and it'll also populate your loan repayments for the current financial year. All of these values are calculated automatically based on what you've inputted. There's also some placeholder expense transaction groups that are created when you add the property. So for example, there's an automatic one created for council rates, which is often paid quarterly. So if you click Edit Transactions, if you go in here, you'll notice there's no transactions here yet. So to add transactions, just click Edit Transaction Group. So after you add the property for the very first time. So here what you'll see is because council rates are often paid quarterly, Property Director automatically sets up the transaction group based on a quarterly frequency. So you can go in here and you can specify the amount that you pay per quarter for council rates. Let's say it's $450. And Property Director also pre-populates the dates of the particular time period in each quarter where the payments have to happen. Now you can change this if you wish according to whatever it says on your council rate statement. So let's just keep it as default for now. At the bottom, the system also allows you to specify the from and the to in terms of the time period within which you want to apply this update. So now you should go to the bottom and just click Update Transaction Group. It'll give you a little pop-up. Just say yes. Okay, so the transaction group's been updated successfully, and if you go down, you'll see that the $450 gets reflected for each of the respective quarterly dates. And if you click edit transactions, you'll actually see the individual transactions created there. So that's quite useful because all of those transactions are created for you automatically. As you pay the counter rates, or as you confirm that they've been paid, you can just click the confirm button and it'll automatically reflect the status. It's just a way for you to just keep track of your payments. It's optional for you to use it, but it's just a good way to know that you've covered everything and you're happy with all of the actual payments up to a certain period of time. You can also edit the individual transactions. So you can click edit, for example. It'll show you the low-level information for the transaction, and you can say, okay, for example, for the last quarter, the transaction was actually 490, and then just click update transaction. And as you can see there, it's actually overridden the original 450. So what's good is you get the flexibility to do these updates yourself. Now, if you go back to manage transactions, there's a breadcrumb at the top that helps you keep track of where you're at. So go back to the manage transactions screen. We also have some additional inbuilt smarts, which I'll show you if you click edit transactions for rent. Let's say, for example, you know for a fact that your rent is going to increase for the second half of the year. So let's say your rent is going to increase from January the 1st until just going forward. So let's say you want to increase it. What you can do is you can apply bulk transaction update. So click apply bulk transaction updates. Specify the name of the transaction, so you can just call this rental increase. And say from which dates you want to apply it. So say 1st of March 2020 through to the 30th of June 2020. Once you click that, you'll apply the bulk update, and if you go down, you'll see that that's been done. So you can see for the last 4 months of the year, it increases the rent to $3,500. You can do that for any time period, and it'll update multiple transactions at once, which can be quite useful. There's also 2 additional features here: replicate transaction, which replicates the transaction pattern over whatever period you want, so you don't have to keep repeating it. And then extend the transaction pattern is a similar feature as well, which you can try out for yourself. So the idea here is that it has a lot of inbuilt features that prevents you from having to enter transactions manually. But you can also enter it manually if you want by just clicking add transaction if you want to enter certain transactions one at a time. Now, if you go back to manage portfolio, we'll see the new property that's been added. So if you go down, it was 10 Suburb Place in Lake Marmora. So here we are. So that's basically where it is, and all your key information is summarized here in this box. Now, what we'll show you now is how you can view the property you've added. So if you just click View Edit Property button, which is within the box, the page loads, and it shows you a nice, neat summary of your property, all in one screen. So it gives you all your general information here, information about your purchase price, your loan information, etc. There's also a section here where all of your uploaded statements appear, and there's a section at the bottom here where all your financials are summarized. This is basically taken directly from the Manage Transaction screen, but it just consolidates it into these key categories. And you can also skip between years, all on one screen. There's also a section on the right hand side for market activity. Just a heads up, this market activity box is only available to users of the essential and the professional plans, which are the upgraded plans. So here it actually shows you the recent sales in that particular suburb. So you can actually get an idea of what's happening in the market, and also the updated, the latest rental vacancy rate, average days on market, and average vendor discount rates for the suburb, which can be quite useful just to give you an understanding of how your investment's going. Next, I'll show you the property portfolio forecaster, which is quite a useful feature and unique to PropertyDirector. So go to the report section and then click portfolio forecaster. Now what the forecaster does is it allows you to forecast the value of your portfolio going forward up to 10 years based on real historical data. So the way it calculates it is that on a suburb by suburb basis, Property Director keeps track of all the capital growth and median price information for every suburb in Australia, and the forecast is based on that historical capital growth. So if you have a look here, firstly select the properties you want to forecast. Let's just select, you can select as many as you want. So let's say you select four of your properties. Specify the forecast period. Let's say you want to look forward to 7 years. Regarding the loan repayment pattern, let's assume you continue the current loan repayment pattern. Let's assume we continue the current interest rate pattern. You can also specify, if you can also say whether you think the interest rates are going to go up or go down. But let's just keep it simple and keep it steady for now. And then finally, as I was saying earlier, you can also specify the capital growth pattern. So basically, what it does here is you can say I want to forecast it going forward for the next 7 years based on the average annual growth per suburb that happened in the last 30 years. So let's just keep it at last 30 years. Now hit the submit button. It's actually going and fetching the median price information for all the suburbs that those properties were based on, and now it's actually done the forecast for you. So you can see here for the next 7 years, visually it shows you where you'll be 7 years from now. It also shows you a tabular representation as well. So for some of these properties, the loan has already been paid, so that's why the loan outstanding is 0. But for some of these other properties, it shows you the projected property value going forward, and also the loan outstanding, which Property Director automatically calculates your loan repayments based on your information you've inputted, and it also gives you the equity per property. So if you go to the bottom, according to this forecast, your total equity now is around 1.79 million, and according to this the forecast, at the end of 7 years, it'll be worth 4.925 million. So obviously for some of these suburbs, the capital growth in the last 30 years was quite high, which is why it's giving you this forecast. So that's the portfolio forecaster. Next, I'll show you the two standard reports. So if you go to the report section again, the portfolio report shows you a summary of all the properties in your portfolio. So this is quite straightforward. It just lists everything out. Here, if you click a particular property, there's some additional detail here. It shows you the general information about the property and also the mortgage information on the right. So try this one out for yourself. If you go up, the other report is for you to have a look at is the cash flow report. So this focuses specifically on how much money is coming in and going out. Okay, so if you have a look here, you can actually see on a property by property basis all of the income, mortgage, and expenses. And there's also the statements that are listed on the right hand side if you've uploaded anything for a property. So all of that's just listed here. So you can get a net amount, basically your cash flow per month, and also per year. If you go to the top, you can change the financial year you're looking at as well. You can also toggle, and if you click the View Consolidated Portfolio Cash Flow, what it does is it creates a consolidated report showing you all your income, all your mortgage, all your expenses over that financial period, and also the net amount of cash flow per month in a total here, which can be quite useful to see how you're performing cash flow wise across your whole portfolio. If we go back to reports, I'll show you one more report before we wrap up. If you go back to the report section. So just a quick note in terms of how the report section is presented. So there's the My Portfolio reports at the top, which is the 3 reports I just showed you. These relate specifically to your portfolio. If you go down, you'll see Market Activity reports, which are basically reports that tell you what's happening in the current market, which covers all suburbs in Australia. And if you go to the bottom, you'll see Research reports. These are more detailed and in-depth. And the one I'll show you now is the Suburb Capital Growth Report. So just click View Report. Okay, so here you can select up to 6 suburbs. So for our example, we'll pick 3 suburbs. So let's just type in 3 suburb names: Mount Druitt, Penrith, and let's say Rooty Hill. You can specify the period of time you want to see the capital growth for. It goes back up to 30 years. So let's just pick the last 10 years, and then specify the property type. Let's just say houses for this example. Hit Submit. Now the report gets produced and it shows you the capital growth for all these 3 properties, which is basically the median price per year over the last 10 years, shown visually. So the 3 suburbs I picked were in the western suburbs of Sydney, so the capital growth pattern, as you can see, was very similar for all 3. This can be a really useful report if you want to compare different suburbs you might be interested in investing in. So if you go down, there's also a tabular representation as well, and it gives you an average annual growth per year per suburb as well. That's all. Please go ahead and try these reports and try adding your first property. We also have an online help guide. So if you go to the About section and click the Access Our Online Training Guide here button, you'll see in-depth and comprehensive material here to help you walk through any of the functionality on the website. And just click any of these, and it'll pull up a page, a PDF page, which gives you step-by-step instructions similar to what I've told you today. And you can also email us at any time. Just email us at support@propertydirector.com.au. We can help you get started completely free of charge. We can help you add your first few properties, all confidential, of course. And feel free to reach out to us at any time. Our goal is to basically be there and have the tools and platform dedicated to property investors. Thanks for your time. We hope you enjoyed the video. We look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.